Welcome, everyone, to Urban Healers Podcast. My name is Stephanie Naylor Lillard, and I'm one of the hosts of Urban Healers Podcast. Urban Healers Podcast and Urban Healing Counseling was founded by our wonderful CEO, Janaea Sadler, where she cultivates an environment where asking for help is our greatest strength. Today, I am excited and delighted to introduce to you one of my colleagues, Anita Matthews, a mental health therapist associate here at Urban Healing Counseling. Today, we're going to talk about caregiving, and we are going to just learn all about it from Anita, and that's one of her areas of expertise. So, audience, just buckle up and get ready. Anita Matthews, everyone. Hi, Anita.
Hi, it's a pleasure to be here. How you doing, Stephanie?
Doing really, really great. It was just so wonderful to have you, audience. I'm just jumping at the bit. As you always know, I'm just so hyped up because my colleagues are super amazing. So, Anita, before we get started, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I am originally from New Jersey, Newark, New Jersey. But I moved down here a little bit after 2007. Was just, getting adjusted to Durham, North Carolina. But a little bit later, I decided to pursue higher education as a non-traditional student. I was a little bit older by then. I won't say how old. But I started at North Carolina Central University. I got my BSW, and then I pursued my MSW. Maybe I want to say 2 or 3 weeks later after graduation, in the advanced standing program, which was a lot, but I did come out of it with my MSW. And through my internships, that's when I kind of got my passion to go into the mental health field. That and some personal things in my life.
Wow. Well, traditional, non traditional way, sometimes everybody's pathway is not straight in our field. Your experience, your life experience, some of the things that you've been through, you bring all of that, to our genre of mental health, which will help and has helped so many other people. And so we just want to stop right here, take a pause, and say thank you for what you've done. Thank you for your sacrifice. A lot of people could not maybe come out of it like you did and able to help others as a result of your life experience. So we are super grateful. Well, Anita, we have some things kind of lighting up in the chat as far as your life experience. But before we get into that and how she incorporated mental health and how she's helping others, Anita, can you tell us the definition of a caregiver?
So for me, the definition entails many different things. So it's just not about providing like physical assistance. It's about providing that emotional support as well, and that could extend to family, friends, your neighbor. It can be an adult, it can be a child, but for a person that is a parent. And so it can be a physical disability, mental health, or just age related needs. For me, it's a combination of all those things.
Wow. And so, audience, you heard what Anita said. Caregiving is more than just caring for someone, it is the mental health aspect, it is the physical aspect, it is the social aspect, it is the economic aspect. And then maybe coordinating with different people, whether it's professionals or family members or friends or neighbors or community groups. It seems to encompass all of that and then some. We're just, sitting back. The chat is sort of going. Some people are sort of giving their experiences with caregiving. Could you tell us, what are some of the mental health struggles caregivers sort of face or experience that have come to you for services?
Yes. So before I go into that, I would also want to kind of add to that too, far as the definition of caregiving. It's also about commitment, right? Because it can be a daily struggle and the
Oh,
responsibility,
yes,
but not
yes.
just the love, but patience. I've learned that a lot in the last 10 plus years. That I've been doing this for my mom. So with that, it can come a little bit of anxiety when things start to pile on. sometimes a little bit of social isolation because you don't have as much time to do things sometimes for yourself, and you can get burnt out, and we all know what that is in this field. But as far as caregiving, that can happen too. It can be emotionally and physically tasking. So that's some of the mental health struggles that come with caregiving.
Wow, audience, did you hear that? I'm telling you, the chat, we have a lot of people wanting to tell their personal stories right now, sort of as we're talking. Anita, some of the things that we're sort of seeing from others who are listening to us right now, they want to know, from the emotional and social isolation aspect, what are some things that they could potentially do to help balance that out? Because what we're hearing you say is, you know, it may be tough to balance based on the type of care, not only that you're giving, but what is needed at the time. So, can you walk us through that a little bit? Or we can slide and open the door on that one and just sort of talk about it.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's important is asking for help when you need it. I think as a caregiver, you want to, put that cape on and act like you have everything's handled. But for me, like asking, I have a little small circle of friends, but asking for help, just sharing, just getting it out, leaning on other people. And you don't have to do it all by yourself. So getting those resources and the support outside of your own home can be helpful.
Okay, audience, did you hear that? She sort of talked about a support network and seeking resources outside. I know some of the popular things that have happened as of late. There are a lot of people who have temporary respite housing for individuals who are caring for someone with a lot of comorbidities and need sort of round the clock care, but also at the same time giving that caregiver a little bit of a break, whether it's to see a movie or for a day and a night. Anita, talk to us about some of the things that maybe have been popular in communities that you've noticed or have been popular with your patients that have come to you who are going through some of this anxiety and social isolation.
Yeah, I think from my internships, I know, I don't know how popular they are now, but I know when I was doing my internship, adult daycares, I think it would be open maybe for 8 hours, and you don't even have to leave your loved one there for that long. It could just be a couple hours, maybe you have something to do, so those kind of things. And maybe I think we automatically sometimes want to jump to the facilities and the skilled nursing and things like that. And not a lot of people want to do that. But like you said, just for that little temporary respite that you might need, you can seek out an adult daycare or something like that, so you can get that little bit of rest.
Well, that is wonderful. So, adult daycares. Are there any services that would come to the actual place or home where the caregiving is being provided that could help just give listeners an idea of some of the resources? Like you said, when you're in that social isolation space, you may not always be thinking about some of the maybe more obvious, more local
Mhm.
choices that may be more economically friendly. Can you talk to us about that a little bit?
Yeah, worked in a skilled nursing facility when I would work on the discharges. Some home health services will come out and provide some of those nursing needs, so you won't have to do them yourself. And show you how to do them as well, just in case they can't be there for a long period of time. But home health was a really big one that I seeked out for some of the patients and their families that were there. So you don't have to do it on yourself to try to figure out how to do it. A lot of times the insurance will cover that as well.
Oh, that's good to know. I'm sure our listeners probably didn't think of some of those avenues, that would really help and giving a little bit of self-care break is what we may want to term it there. But a lot of individuals may not have some of those support networks and may not know there are other resources they can seek out. Now, as far as caregivers who give care for extended relatives, do you think they would sort of have the same difficulties with their own for example, like their parents? Is there a different level of emotional distress when caregivers, mainly children of those parents, is there any type of more of a distress when it comes to your own parent?
Yes, for me, and that's something I've struggled with, right? Because you've seen this person in a different light, right? They were taking care of you at one time, so they've started to kind of lose some of their independence, and that can be tasking and something difficult to wrap your brain around. And so sometimes I have to remind myself, like, this isn't the same person. Not necessarily that it's a negative thing. It's a different shift in things and dynamics. So I think that's a little bit of the struggle. It can be for a longer duration than it would be if it was another family member. And it changes the balance of the relationship, the nature of the relationship, because now you're looking at this person a little bit different. Um, and it can be a little tasking because sometimes you will get that pushback because they like I'm the parent,
Yeah.
and so it can be hard for them to understand that you need help at this time. And so I think that's something that I personally struggled with my mom, and just reminding her, like, yes, I'm still respecting you as my parent. But I'm just trying to help you the best I can. And so I think that it's a little bit different. The family dynamics are different. The parent has lost their independence a little bit different. I think that's the difference when you are providing those services.
Wow. Audience, did you hear that? Anita really just, gave us some golden nuggets there. There is a shift in dynamics. And, it's sort of a little bit of gray territory at times, sounds like, Anita, based on what you're saying.
Yes.
And because of that sort of gray territory, what are some of the challenges in providing care for someone who no longer can care for themselves in the way that they're used to having autonomy and independence and vocalization of what their needs and wants are? Communication is sort of not always clear.
Hmm.
um, how do you, as a caregiver, how were you able to preserve your mother's sort of dignity and self-respect to where she would sort of lower the wall and allow you to care for her?
Yeah, and I've been doing it a long time, and it's been different changes. So sometimes it's a little bit more hands-on, and sometimes it's just about providing that emotional support, being that listening ear. Some of the things that she enjoyed before, if she wants to try that, just be of support. Right, don't shut it down so fast. Right, sometimes as caregivers, like, oh no, you can't do that anymore, or don't try that anymore. So my mom's she's a writer, right? And so obviously it's going to be a struggle there because the cognition is not there as it was before. So reminding myself that I don't always have to go in, correction mode, right? If something is misspelled or some grammatical error, I know what she's trying to say. Because sometimes when you do that, they can really shut down and then they don't want to try again. So that's how I do it. Just have patience, right? Let if they want to try things that they tried before that they enjoy, let them. Obviously you still want to be there, like, to support them, because sometimes they can't just jump back in the car and those kind of things, but things at home, things in this that safe haven, let them try it.
All right, audience, you heard Anita. It's okay to let them try it and continue to have a sense of dignity and independence and self-worth. Sometimes that gets sort of lost because people who are giving care, as you stated a little earlier, are, it can be emotionally and physically sort of exhausting. So that patience that you just talked about may not always be there.
Mhm.
And so, Anita, sort of talk to us a little bit about, how have you, in over the years in your group work, and your individual therapy work with patients, What are some of the things you talk to them about in dealing with, say, the anxiety that you had mentioned earlier? What are some of the coping mechanisms that you have found that were helpful for your patients experiencing anxiety while being a caregiver for their loved one or parent?
I think one of the places I start with is who they are outside of that role. Right? It's just getting them back to their self, reminding them, because I think that's where some of the anxiety comes from. Like, I got to do everything for this person, right? You kind of forget about yourself. So that in the mix of that self-care is so, so important, right? Who are you outside of that, right? How are you managing things? So you give them this space to let these things out. And sometimes it doesn't always sound good and pleasant. Right? So tell me about the frustration. This space is okay. Like sometimes, your parent or whoever you caregiving for, they might get on your nerves. They might be pushing you sometimes. You don't always have to just take that and just let it, slide off your back. It's sometimes some things they say can be hurtful. So just being honest with their self, like, and not judging them for that, because I have experience in that, right? Sometimes it gets rough. And you have these thoughts sometimes, and that's sometimes when the anxiety comes, like, oh, I shouldn't be feeling like that, I shouldn't say that. No, that's being honest with yourself, right? Because once you acknowledge that, then you can figure out a way how to handle that. Like, why am I feeling this way? Why am I getting so frustrated, right? And sometimes that comes in with that parent losing a little bit of independence, and you just want them to kind of go back to their self, and that's not always going to happen. So just being real and honest and transparent with yourself, letting those things out, those frustrations. Some of those things you probably wouldn't say to them, but you can say it in the therapeutic space.
Well, that is just amazing. And thank you for sort of explaining that a little bit more, Anita, because some people need a little clarification in that area. And while they may be on the, kind of on the fence about whether they should seek therapy or not,
Mhm.
and so before we close out, and yes, audience, I know the chat does not want us to close out right now, but we will have a part two of caregiving from Anita at a later date. She's in high demand right now. And so we are just lucky to grab her in this moment. Anita, what are some signs a person may not know that they're experiencing this anxiety or emotional distress? What are some signs that you typically see that you want to tell our audience about that would sort of even, have them contact Urban Healing Counseling to try to get an appointment with us?
Yeah, I think one of them is irritability and agitation. Maybe things that didn't get to you as much. Every little thing is just nagging at you. Sleep disturbances. And even sometimes it can look different for other people, right? When they are masking things, right? You just letting things just kind of simmer a little bit, and then it boils over. I think that's one of the things: irritability, sleep disturbances, the lack of self care that has fallen by the wayside. So I think that's some of the signs, and maybe people say, okay, maybe I should seek out someone to talk to at this time.
Well, thank you so much, Anita. Audience, you will be able to listen to this and get a transcription of this section of Caregiver Part 1 on our YouTube channel. And please visit our website at www.urbanhealingcounseling.com. We want to say thank you, Anita, and we want you to come back.
Thank you so much. This was a lovely experience.
Thank you.